2 minutes till broadcast.
What's up, guys? Welcome in. Let's make this happen today for another day of broadcasting excellence, or so we say. All right, there we go. I think we got everything all shared out. Welcome in, guys. Welcome. What's up? Tom Rigsby. He'll be joining us
1 minute till broadcast.
at the bottom of the hour. American Contingency. We've had him on the program before. We're going to talk about the latest out of the dairy farm explosion. Oh, yes. What the heck happened there and what's going on? So we'll touch on that. We have Joe Biden's announcement of insanity and more. So stay tuned. Let's do this thing. There we go.
30 seconds till broadcast.
30 seconds, whatever will I do? All right, if you're on the live streams, welcome aboard, guys. Like it out, share it out, leave that comment, break that algorithm. Let's have some fun today. Got a lot to cover in our 1 hour of togetherness. We always have such a short amount of time together. So sad. Hang tight. Here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Republicans right now, the conservatives, which unfortunately, this is what we have to do every time. Even after a vote where people are sick and tired of the establishment, they're sick and tired of the squeezy, middle-of-the-road, squishy kind of Republican rhinos, and we vote conservatives in, then we have to fight tooth and nail in D.C. to actually be heard within the Republican Party.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
What's happening? Welcome into the program. It's a post-Monday celebration, the greatest day of the entire week. Yes, I say that every day, but that's okay, because we are the eternal optimists here on this program, which means... well, we're just trying to get through the day. What can we say? Let's be honest about it. We're trying to get through all the madness, which there is never a shortage of news and breaking information and insanity and shenanigans, as in Joe Biden says, the malarkey that goes on throughout the world today. So let's try and break it all down with you with common sense, rationale, and reason here on this program. Welcome into it, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on our flagship radio station. We are all over the country, radio, TV, live streaming, and podcasting. However you watch or listen to the show, we love you to death. Appreciate you very much. Your millennial general reporting for duty like we do every single day. And we're not just going to disappear. As far as I know, at least. We're going to be here for the long haul, consistently, for you, because that's what we do. Bottom of the hour, we have Tom Rigsby on the show. He is with American Contingency, the CEO and founder of American Contingency. We'll talk about the dairy farm explosion down in Texas. You remember that from a while ago? When was that? That was back on April 12th, a couple weeks ago. We're going to talk about what happened, why 18,000 cattle just ended up dying in that crazy explosion, and what that means for supply chain issues, the price of beef, and a heck of a lot more in the agricultural industry. And for us that are just trying to buy hamburger patties in the grocery stores, what the heck's going on? Also, obviously, being a dairy farm with the price of milk. Eggs are on the rise, so why the hell? Well, let's just make dairy on the rise as well. So we'll get to all that here in just a little bit. Kind of an interesting take, because there's been an ongoing thing for a while now, for the last year or so, of distribution centers just randomly catching fire, or with airplanes randomly running into them and exploding them. We don't know what's going on. Then, of course, with COVID and the supply chain issues, the price of food is obviously a little bit on the higher end than what it usually is. So we'll get to that here in just a bit. Speaking of prices, I don't know if you saw the headline today. This is the big story of the day right here.
What's trending today?
Just at a guesstimation, throw a number out there, just by a guesstimation. Imagine how much money Americans last year in 2022 spent on marijuana. Oh, yes, marijuana. Yes, I'm talking about the madness, the pot. How much do you think that we spent on it? Now, most states have done something with this, legalize it in some form or fashion, whether it be medical or recreational. Minnesota actually coming out in the last state right now that's actually pushing to legalize it recreationally. They're moving that one through their legislature right now. But there are many, in fact, only 3 states in the nation have not legalized it either on a recreational or a medicinal stance. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because people are like, Andy, the pot discussion again. I'm not wanting to do that. However, just a random guess. Throw how much money out there you think we spent on marijuana or legal marijuana last year in 2022. According to MJ Biz Daily and reported by the New York Post, $30 billion was spent on marijuana just last year alone. That's kind of crazy, man. Now, just to put that into perspective, that topped the $20 billion last year that was spent on chocolate. Yes, chocolate, meaning the Mother's Day, the Easter, the Halloween trick-or-treating, none of it compared to the amount of marijuana that was purchased last year across the nation, just to put that into perspective. So the states that have not gotten on board with this, I ask you the question. By the way, the experts are also anticipating that $30 billion to double in the next 5 years. What states are ready to try and gain some of that in tax revenue and some revenue coming into their state? Just throwing that concept out there. But holy cow, man, that tops for every Mother's Day gift, for every Easter basket you've given to your child, for every Halloween candy that you've done, for the trick-or-treating, all of it, none of that goes in comparison with the amount of marijuana that we've spent over the last year. Blows my mind. All right, I just found that kind of an interesting tidbit. We are going to talk on that a little bit more in length Friday, I believe. Friday, we're going to talk about that because we have a great guest. Hold on here. As I scroll across the studio here, we have a guest that's going to be on that actually has an interesting conversation. Shannon Duncan. He is an author called Coming Full Circle, Using Psychedelics to Heal Trauma, as we talk about the new movement. I call it new-ish because we're just like, wow, look at all the benefits here. But people do that for a long time, and then it got shunned by, obviously, Big Pharma, who doesn't like anything natural. But psychedelic medicines, magic mushrooms, or the ayahuasca trips you hear about people taking nowadays, he wrote a book on the actual science behind it, and does it actually help individuals with mental health issues? Depression, anxiety, PTSD, whatever else, whatever chemical imbalances may be happening in the brain. Do psychedelic drugs, so to speak, under controlled settings with psychiatrists and doctors actually heal trauma and mental health issues? So we're going to talk about that coming up on Friday. Kind of be an interesting conversation. And by the way, if you go to our Patreon site, you can actually listen to it in its entirety before we actually air it on the program, because we interviewed him today. And we'll play that on the show on Friday in its portion of it, because we can't air the entire thing due to time restraints here on the radio program. All right, enough of that. We'll get into that a little bit later on the program. But let's get into our What's Trending story of the day.
What's trending today?
The big news, man. I told you, we don't have to really go out of our way a whole lot to find a lot of breaking news going on, because there's a lot obviously happening. Yesterday, Tucker Carlson off the air. Today, we have the big news of Joe Biden making his, I was going to say it without laughing, Joe Biden making his official announcement of running for re-election in the presidential race of 2024 with a 3-minute campaign ad. I know. He was actually able to talk for 3 full minutes without stuttering all over himself, as I stutter, and I was using it as an example of what Joe Biden actually tries to do. Now, this is obviously pre-produced, so he can mumble and stumble all over he wants to over himself, and they can just trim it out. But he made a 3-minute video talking about how great his administration has been, how evil the Donald Trump administration was, kind of already in the mindset that Donald Trump's going to be the presidential nominee, as he directed that campaign message towards the MAGA Republicans wanting to take away our freedoms.
Freedom. Personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans. There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred. That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy. This shouldn't be a red or blue issue. To protect our rights, to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot at making it. But around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms, cutting Social Security that you paid for your entire life, while cutting taxes for the very wealthy, dictating what health care decisions women can make, banning books and telling people who they can love, all while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote.
Wow. Now, that's just a portion of it, but welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to our favorite segment of the Times.
Let's go into the Biden basement.
All right, so we have the fear tactics of freedoms. Freedoms being taken away by the MAGA Republicans while we fight for democracy. Now, here's the question. We could nitpick at this because obviously there's a lot to nitpick at. It's really stupid. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense at all, and we'll play it again here in just a moment. We have a few other clips as well. But how do you counter the blatant, false, stupid, absurd, ridiculous, however adjective that you want to use? How do you counter some of these lies? Because as you know, the Biden administration is the one that actually takes freedoms away. And we could go down the entire list of Second Amendment issues, signing executive orders to try and put in red flag laws, trying to do the mandatory universal background checks, which is really stupid because we already have background checks. But we could just go down the road by itself on Second Amendment issues. What about the constraints of social media now? Again, with the Restrict Act, which I've been saying is an absolute disaster and should never be part of this conversation at all, because they're going to get rid of your ability to have a conversation and dialogue and content outside of the government's restrictions and what you're allowed to see. So just by itself, online content and social media would be a vast taking away of our freedoms in some way. The ESG movement right now. Andy, what's that? That's essentially our social credit score that we're starting for businesses. You have to have a high ESG score in order to qualify for bank loans and credit cards as a business by the government to allow you to get certain grants or certain government contracts. The ESG, you have to be environmentally friendly. You have to be friendly to the LGBTQ community, and not just like, I don't really care, because if you just don't care, then you're actually anti-LGBTQ, FYI. You have to be pro. You have to be, they are courageous. They are the coolest people on the entire planet. We have to hype them up as like the great heroes of the day. That's the level you have to be at, or else you're anti-LGBTQ. The banking industry, we want to regulate and just watch every single transaction coming out of your bank account that's $600 or more going in or out. Your paycheck, your mortgage payment, your car payment, your credit card payment, maybe purchasing something. Oh, yes, the government wants to track all of those things, expanding the IRS to do audits on every single individual to make sure that you're paying your fair share. We could go down the list. And that's just a portion of it, of what he's taken away for freedoms. But by golly, the Republicans, man. The MAGA. Now, he specifically said MAGA, which I find interesting because he's already kind of assuming that Donald Trump is going to be the face of the Republican Party and the presidential candidate again in 2024. Let's hear that one more time.
Freedom. Personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans. There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred. That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy. This shouldn't be.
Okay, let's stop right there. The democracy, not true because we don't live in a democracy, but I don't know how he's exactly fought for that. Now, if you watch the video, this is 3 minutes of him doing flashes. You can't actually watch him walk because he trips or he shuffles his feet. So it's not actually him doing anything, but standing in front of a podium or taking pictures with a whole bunch of every, skin color out there, because they had to make sure it was the most diverse video that you've ever seen in your entire life. There's not a single photo where he's actually taking a picture with a white person, which fine, cool, but man, they really honed in on the fact that he's not a racist when he's actually like the most racist person that's ever been in Congress outside of the actual KKK members.
To protect our rights, to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot at making it. But around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms. Cutting Social Security.
Not true.
That you paid for your entire life.
Not true.
Cutting taxes for the very wealthy.
Okay, hold on. Let's stop right there. Do you think that he actually knows that he's lying, or do you think he's just saying it because he's not aware? Cutting Social Security, which isn't true. Cutting Social Security that you paid into your entire life. Again, he's been in government since, 1978, 1976? You think he'd actually know the system. But when you pay into Social Security, you don't actually pay into your Social Security. You're paying for somebody that's on it right now. So when you retire, the new workforce that's in there is actually paying for yours. You're not paying into yours at all. That's not how that works. Do you think he knows that? Or is it just a campaign lie? Interesting. Here's the next piece.
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent.
Dramatic, with pictures of minorities.
That's why I'm running for re-election.
That, ladies and gentlemen, that, my friends, is the kickoff of the 2024 presidential campaign from Joe Biden.
Let's go into the Biden basement.
There you have it. Ironically, that comes out at the exact same time where the latest national poll shows that 55% of the Democrat Party itself does not want him to be the presidential nominee for the Democrat Party. Quite fascinating, isn't it? Lots more coming up. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason, and I want to tell you about my friends over at OpsLens. As you know, they've been a great partner with the program, along with so many other TV, radio, and podcasting programs from all over the country talking about really anything you want to hear, from current events, Second Amendment, politics, health and lifestyle, and so much more. No matter your interest, OpsLens has a show for you, helping educate, entertain, and battle the mainstream propaganda machine. And you can watch this show along with so many others live on their website, their app, or any of their social media sites. Plus, you can catch up with the latest blogs, articles, and stories from all the different show hosts and contributors. What more could you ask for? And now OpsLens wants to give you the opportunity to stay in the know on any issue going on all around the world without the bias, control, and manipulation from the mainstream media or social media. It's time for you to check out OpsLens Worldview. Don't fall for the one-sided reporting of the mainstream media. It's time for you to learn the truth, which means it's up to you to find the truth, and OpsLens Worldview can help. Sign up for OpsLens Worldview and see articles, blogs, reports, stories, and statements from elected officials or government agencies, along with local news stories and police reports from anywhere in the world on really any topic. Find out what's really going on from multiple sources without the filtered journalism or one-sided reporting. Now you can stay informed on global issues as they happen from the local sources, accessing more than 1.5 million online posts every day with tens of millions of blogs and first-hand accounts, all at your fingertips. Just go to opslens.com and click Worldview and use the promo code VOR10 for a 5-day free trial and 10% off when you sign up. Again, that's VOR10 for 10% off when you sign up for OpsLens Worldview. It's time to take knowledge, truth, and wisdom back into your own hands. And you do it right here with the Voice of Reason and OpsLens.com.
Fighting for freedom every day. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the program. Thanks for hanging out today. 24 minutes past the hour. Man, the official announcement from Joe Biden running for president again in 2024. I'm wondering if he's just not listening to his party, if he's not listening to many of the advisors, half the elected officials that have been caught off camera, Democrat elected officials that are like, yeah, we really don't want him to be the candidate at all. We read the poll, this one from NBC just a couple of days ago. Do you think Joe Biden should run for president? 70% of all Americans, 51% of Democrats say he should not run for a second term. That's a large amount. Now, the poll also talked about Donald Trump as the first choice among Republicans by 2/3 majority vote, but the overwhelming, including independents, said no, they didn't want him to be that either. But 70% of Americans in the poll said no, they don't want Joe Biden to run for a second term. That's a lot. So if you're running not listening to the polls, who the hell are you listening to? I'm curious. Because he's trying to say that we need to finish the job. Got to finish the job that we started in the first term, which is what their campaign slogan always is for someone running for re-election. We started the job, now we got to finish the job. The job's never done, so I don't know when the finished project actually is there. But you can always say we can continue on what we've done. But what exactly kind of platform do we have for the Joe Biden campaign fund right now? I mean, what can you say that you've done? You've ruined the economy. You've destroyed the stock market. You've destroyed the oil and energy industry. You've destroyed social media and online. You've gone after Second Amendment issues. You've continued to have inflation hit near 7%. Still, years in, one of the longest running high inflation market values that we've seen for a while. We're going into a recession, which we really hit last year by definition, but all of them are saying that we're going to slow down and see it this year. You've created massive amounts of government jobs while not giving us the truth about what the private sector jobs actually are. But you say that it's about working with good people because that's what the campaign's all about.
I know we're good and decent people. I know we're still a country that believes in honesty and respect and treating each other with dignity. That we're a nation where we give hate no safe harbor. We believe that everyone is equal, that everyone should be given a fair shot to succeed in this country.
Thank you for choosing us.
Now, again, this is the time where he takes a whole lot of photos with different
Every
people.
generation of Americans have faced a moment when they have to defend democracy. Stand up for our personal freedom. Stand up for the right to vote and our civil rights.
They've taken the board for the identity politics. That's what it's all about. Every photo, if you go through the video, it's hilarious to watch. Every video is about trying to find as many unique identities as possible. So the question is how do we combat the lies from the other side? Obviously, we can talk about it on the radio, talk about it on podcasts, talk about it on TV programs. But how do you wake up the other side to see the lies? You can go back throughout Joe Biden's entire history and you can see the racist comments that he's made, the absurd comments that he's made. Just beyond that, they say the number one issue for him is obviously age. But beyond that, let's talk about the actual policy issues. Because wouldn't you be a little concerned if like one of the most racist guys out there was out there taking photos with people trying to be not racist?
What you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community.
In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Yeah, I do. I know a lot of weed smokers. You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
I mean, I guess that's the Joe Biden administration. Hey, look at all the cool comments that we've made, but don't worry, as long as we take a photo with some minority group, then we're cool. We're fighting for unity and civil rights. When he actually fought against civil rights and the whole segregation and Jim Crow laws. Yeah, that was his side. That was what his stance were. Oh, yeah, that's right. But by golly, now he's going to fight for you. And if you believe that, let me tell you.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates, from holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast, become your own Voice of Reason, and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media. The Hooser Media Network continues to grow every single day with new shows, new content, and new information as we continue to fight the narrative against the mainstream and give you the alternative view of the world. The Hooser Media Network is home to great TV, radio, and podcasting programs on any topic of any interest, from politics and current events to religion and spirituality, holistic and alternative health, entertainment, motivational speakers, and so much more. And with the Hooser Media Network, you can enjoy more content from the Voice of Reason like this. For those that don't know your story, Mia, talk about your story, your upbringing, and the fact that you are a first-generation American, which becoming a first-generation American and becoming a congresswoman, that's an amazing American story right there.
That's the American dream. My dad was chased by a Tonto Macoute, and those who really don't know what a Tonto Macoute is, they were armed individuals. I call them thugs that served at the pleasure of the president or dictator in Haiti. And that was the Duvaliers. And no law applied to them. They had free reign to do whatever they wanted to. They could go into your home, eat your food, rape your families, and there would be no justice. They would walk out and be completely fine. And so when you were chased by one of these individuals, you didn't want to get caught. So my father jumped into a sewage pipe, and he stayed there, closed his eyes, and stayed there until the next morning. And when he went home, his mom was shocked to see him because she thought he had died. If a 14-year-old didn't come home at that time in Haiti, the chances are they weren't coming home. Wow. They didn't come home at night. That's the time when my father said, he remembers saying, he's going to go to America, the land of the free that he had heard about, where you could work as hard to be anything you want to be. If he wanted to, whatever he wanted to do, he could do it, but only in America. And he decided at the age of 14, when he raised a family, he was going to raise it in America. And he had worked very long and hard. You know what my dad said to me? I think it's really important that people hear this. My dad said to me just not too long ago, just the other day, he's like, you know what's sad? He said, I love America more than a lot of Americans do. And I said, well, Dad, what would make you say something like that? And he said, because I know what it's like to live outside of this country. Yeah. I know what it's like to run away from people who are supposed to protect you, but can do whatever they want. And there's no justice. I know what it's like to live in a country where government is bigger than people.
It's a scary thought, but he's absolutely right. I see that all the time myself. I don't know whether we take it for granted. We don't understand the greatness that we have in this nation. We have people that burn the flag left and right, that try to cuss it, that try to stand up for communist China, or that stand up for Cuba, and some of the dictators that stand up for these socialist nations. I don't know why we do it, Mia, but the big question is he said, he came here for the American dream, to work as hard as you can, and the more work that you put into it, the better benefits that you get out of it. Do we still have that society today? Is that American dream still alive?
Oh, I think it's it's not as available, and it's not because we attack the very thing that helps give the American dream, freedom. You have to have freedom to have the American dream. You have to have the ability of people to risk everything, to open up a shop, to provide an asset, whether it's a service or product that other people want. Our entrepreneurs are being attacked. Success is being attacked. I mean, these are the people, these small businessmen and women are the ones that gave my dad 3 jobs in order to make ends meet. And they're being attacked. Our taxes pay for things that do not really benefit us as individuals. I always, as a mayor, as a city council member, and even as a member of Congress, those dollars are sacred. I saw them as sacred.
Listen to all these programs and so much more as we try to bring back knowledge, wisdom, and truth back into the world. And we do that right here with the Hooser Media Network, the future of media.
When Reason Meets Radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
John Wright it is. Welcome back into the program. Thanks for hanging out today on the post-Monday celebration, the greatest day of the entire week, trying to carpe diem all over this place, baby. That's what we do. Welcome into it, trying to cram that 10 pounds of reason into that 5-pound bag, trying to rebrand the millennial generation, one radio listener at a time on our multiple radio stations all over the place. So we have the big announcement from Joe Biden. There it is, man. Running for president again, 2024.
Let's finish this job. I know we can. Because this is the United States of America. There's nothing, simply nothing we cannot do if we do it together.
Very interesting indeed. By the way, real quickly, before we shift gears here for a second as well, I don't know if you've noticed, if you've been paying attention, or if you've been wanting or waiting or wondering what the heck's happening, but with the announcement of Tucker Carlson on Monday, regarding him leaving Fox News. If you go to his website, tuckercarlson.com, it sounds like he's been working hard behind the scenes, getting things up and ready to go. As if you go to his website, the first thing you see is a pop-up that says text Tucker to 44055 and become a tuckercarlson.com insider to find out what Tucker's up to next. So it sounds like he may be working on his own project, whether it's a podcast or his own network or something, but he's not. It doesn't sound like he's joining another network. It sounds like he's going to be having his own projects right there on his Tucker Carlson website at tuckercarlson.com. So if you're interested, if you want to text it, you can do Tucker to 44055. I don't know why I'm giving him a plug. You should be going to HooserReason.com and checking out my website because, we're actually on the air right now. Oh, and I don't have my... There it is. Thank you. Thank you very much. Although he's got a heck of a lot more supporters than me. With that, let's go to our next guest. What do you say?
What's trending today?
And excited to have this guy back on the program. It's been a little bit since we've had him on. But as you know, there was a couple weeks ago, it just kind of falls right in line with some of the news we've seen over the last year or so with some of the big cases of distribution plants for food just going up in flames and airplanes randomly just striking them and hitting them for no apparent reason. And now a lot of them, being part of, in the state of Kansas, talking to agricultural leaders, they say that a lot of times those fires get started, oopsies, in order for insurance, in order to rebuild, because they're so old and outdated, they need new distribution plants. Okay, cool. I get that. But there's been a lot of them that's happened over the last year or so. Then you have the airplanes that's randomly, flown into them as well. Then you have this case out of Texas where 18,000 cows died at a dairy farm after an explosion. Say, what the heck happened here, man? And does this fall into a greater conversation to have? Excited to have on the program. He is with American Contingency, which you can find online at americancontingency.com. Happy to have back on the program Mr. Tom Rigsby. Tom, how are you, my friend?
Man, I'm doing great, Andy. How are you?
Doing great. It's good to talk to you again. For those that don't know this story or don't know exactly what happened, why in the world did we see an explosion that killed 18,000 cows? Like, that's devastating to me.
Well, it is. It's a terrible thing, and, I grew up on a farm, and so I feel connected to this story. But the reality is, if you look at the numbers and do the math, 18,000 cattle is a lot of livestock to lose, and it's about 1% of our milk production in the country. We don't know yet what caused this particular fire. I completely understand, the information that you've gotten about insurance policies overheating and that sort of thing. But you typically don't see the livestock consumed in that kind of fire. Yeah. Unfortunately, these things happen a lot, and it's a cattle farm. They were all in one barn. There's a lot of methane in that building. All it takes is one stray spark, and there you go. Is it something more nefarious than that? From my perspective, I look at the situation, which is, here's the broader situation is the impact in these seemingly recurring stories about supply chain food production being damaged or taken offline. And so what's the context of that? If the situation is that we have supply chain issues with food and the context is it's out of my control and it's going to damage the ability to keep food at a reasonable price on my table, then my next step is to look at the risks and create a mitigation plan for that. How do I get by, or how do I keep putting food on the table for the family without breaking the bank? And that, those are the kinds of things that we talk about at American Contingency, help people come up with those plans. Yeah. And you need to know why. And the example I use a lot is, if the power's out. It's important to know why, because if it's a tornado, you need to get in the tornado shelter.
Sure.
But if it's a car that's taken out a utility pole, well, that's a little different circumstance. So we have to look at all of these things individually, but I like to look at the bigger picture and say, okay, what can I do to mitigate the risk of something like this happening to me and harming me or my family?
Exactly. Well, like you said, even if there's nothing nefarious going on, which, I still, the things that go, like you said, it happens more than what the news likes to report, but it seems like it's been happening more. But even if it's not nefarious, it's just the fact that it is happening, that we see 18,000 cattle die here. Like you said, about 1% of the milk production, roughly about 20% of cattle slaughters that happen on a daily basis in the state of Texas. So, that's a pretty large sum for a 1 day's production of meat, even if we were going down that road. Then we had last summer here in the state of Kansas, where we're from, we had thousands, right about that same amount, thousands of cattle just dropped dead because it went from cool weather to an extreme heat with the stagnant wind, with no wind or anything, and they just dropped dead. And it was just, it raises your eyebrow of what the heck's going on here, because outside of the 7% inflation we're already battling, we have the avian flu that killed massive amounts of chickens across the country over the last year. We have prices that are high from inflation and from supply chain shortages right now. That's a cause for concern, I think, for a lot of people when they're trying to go to the store.
Well, absolutely. And you mentioned 7% inflation. I would submit to you that the number, the actual number, the felt number is much higher than that. All you have to do is ask anyone who's gone to the grocery store lately. The numbers are significantly higher than they were even this time last year. But what a lot of people don't remember is in 2020, when we were in the beginning stages of the COVID madness that was going on, USDA came out with programs to help ranchers and farmers put down their livestock, because their expectation was, and this is what happened, we're going to shut down the processing plant, so the butchering plants where these animals get processed and turned into products that go on the grocery store shelves. We're going to shut them down because people are going to get sick there. And so we don't want you to have to feed your animals for another season, so we'll help you put them down. That's a really big deal.
That's a big deal. Well, and then on top of that, we have now, with the ongoing drought, especially in the Mid-America region with Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, the massive drought, we see agricultural farmers and especially cattle farmers who can't buy the grain for the amount of cattle that they have and don't have good pastures, so they're already taking more into slaughter than what they usually do anyways as well, maybe helping temporarily the meat market by oversupplying now, but that's going to be a harmful issue in the long run there, isn't it?
Well, it's this phrase that we used to hear all the time, kicking the can down the road. Yes, that solves a short-term problem, but the long-term problem could be much more significant. And these are the same farmers, the ones you just talked about, are the same ones who are still trying to recover from having to put down a year's worth of livestock.
Yep.
And trying to financially recover from that. But what a lot of people don't realize, and this is why you wouldn't want to accidentally kill 18,000 head, they've spent decades building that herd and selectively breeding that herd for maximum milk production.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can just go out and buy 18,000 more.
Yeah.
And so all of those things, that Bloomberg that said farming's easy, you put it in the ground and you sit around and wait for a little while and then you pick it. Well, he clearly has never done that job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the elites that really show that division here in the country. We're talking with Tom Rigsby with American Contingency, AmericanContingency.com. I hate having these conversations because I get truly, honestly terrified and scared to death about the shakiness and uncertainty of supply chain issues, especially when it comes to food. With the growing population that we have around the world, the demand that we have around the world for both grain and for meat, and the exports that we put on, the pressure that we put on the farmers for exports and for domestic production here. And then when things like this happen, I get scared because it's like, holy cow, am I even going to be able to go to the grocery store and be able to see something on the shelves at all? So the question is, Tom, what can we do to prepare ourselves for something like that? God forbid it ever happen.
Sure. Well, what we encourage our members to do is start small. And a lot of people will look at, food safety and food preservation from a perspective that, well, I can't afford to go out and buy a year's worth of food. Well, I wouldn't ask you to do that. I would ask you to start with 3 days. Because statistically, we know that most households in this country don't have 3 days worth of food in them.
Sure.
Which is scary. So get 3 days, and then work on 3 weeks, and then work on 3 months. And just buy the things that you normally buy and find somewhere to put them away. They can go under bed. They can go in the back of closets. There's a lot of unused space in the house.
Grab some canned foods and box stuff.
That,
yeah. I tell you what, Tom, hold that line. We got to tell you, I didn't look at the time here. We're going to take a hard break here. It's Tom Rigsby, AmericanContingency.com. I want to continue this conversation when we come back of what you can do. Prepare yourself just a little bit. You're not a crazy prepper if you just decide to prepare yourself whatever may happen, even if it's just because the power goes out for a day or two. You might want to prepare yourself a little bit. We'll do some more of that when we come back here for The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to The Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring The Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You want some more reason throughout the day? Well, now it's easier than ever to find. Here's what you do. Check out the website at HooserReason.com. Here you can find past shows, links to all of our social media, special features, our monthly blogs, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to check in frequently, as we're constantly working to add more goodies that you'll really enjoy. Also, you can always subscribe and follow our social media sites for bonus content, articles that we use on the show, or maybe some additional rants. Yeah, it's all that and so much more. Check it all out at HooserReason.com. Looking for more Reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hoosier Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HoosierReason.com. Again, that's HoosierReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. As we continue to grow as a radio and TV program, we're continuously working behind the scenes to try and bring more common sense and reason to more patriotic Americans all over the country. That's why we're super excited to be working with the OpsLens team to bring you the Voice of Reason every single day. OpsLens is a national online network bringing you incredible content all day from hosts all over the country. And each host brings their own unique experience and expertise to the current events, reaching hundreds of thousands of patriotic Americans daily. Make sure to check out their website at opslens.com. Make sure to download the OpsLens website and follow them on all of these social media sites that you like so you can watch all their live streaming content, including ours right here with the Voice of Reason. Plus, if you want more of the Voice of Reason, check out our website online at HoosierReason.com. There you can listen to the live audio feed of the show every single day. You can read our monthly blog. You can check out our satire infomercials. You can see pictures of what we're doing, upcoming schedule of events, and a heck of a lot more. On the website, you can find our list of radio and TV affiliates in your area. Find our social media links, and while you're there, sign up for our free newsletter. Over the last 2 years, your Voice of Reason newsletter has grown exponentially. It's completely free, and in it, we give you your monthly motivation, upcoming civic holidays for the month, a recap from the show from last month, upcoming guests on the program, along with the latest news from our Hoosier Media Network. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the website at HoosierReason.com and become the next Hoosier-holic. Finally, follow us on all of our social media sites. With the iron grip control on content from the radical left, unless you follow us, you're not going to be able to see us. It's been an ongoing battle with shadow banning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where even our own fans are having a hard time finding our content. But the battle isn't over. We'll continue to bring you the best content we can on as many platforms as possible. You can follow us with the handle at Hoosier Reason. No matter what social media site you like to use, you can find us there. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, Instagram, TikTok, ourfreedombook.com, Parler, and of course our website at HoosierReason.com. Don't miss it while we give you a heads up on some of the events that I may be attending or speaking at, updates of behind-the-scene projects, or just something sarcastic to try and rile up the left. The battle for freedom is real, and we want to be part of that battle as we want you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Conservative principles happen at the grassroots level, and that's what we're here to help with. And together, you and I can fight back against this virus that's spreading across the nation that is socialist policy, trying to destroy this country. We can bring us back to some constitutional values, some individual sovereignty, and the right for you to be able to make your own choices when you deem necessary for you, your family, and your community. In a world of fake news and information overload, it's time to bring back some reason, common sense, guidance, and a little bit of wisdom. And that's what we're here to do. This is the Voice of Reason.
Fighting for freedom every day. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the program. Last few minutes of the show as we wrap up a post-Monday celebration. Again, the greatest day of the entire week. I don't care what anyone says. That's the way we roll here on the program. We're hanging out with Tom Rigsby, which you can find at AmericanContingency.com. AmericanContingency.com. Have a plan for what may come. You never know what's going to come. As I said, I am scared to death when I talk about these conversations because the uncertainty, the shakiness, how fragile our supply chains are, obviously, that we saw during the COVID pandemic when we rely so much, especially on importing goods across the nation, from food to resources to even the computers from China. I mean, what? Why the heck not? Tom, as we talk about this, do you think there's also an increase in interest from a lot of individuals to grow their own food, either have maybe a few chickens in the backyard or planting their own garden for the first time and kind of being a little more self-sufficient?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interest in that. Just anecdotally, in my own area here, the farm supply company that I frequent, their first order for chickens this year, for the little chicks that they sell, they got 5,000 birds. That's a lot of chickens.
Wow, that's amazing.
The hatcheries where we, where I'm in my circle, where we usually go to get chicks, had a 3-month waiting list to get chicks this year. Wow. So I think that there definitely is interest, and I think what people have seen, and we can talk about the cows and the dairy barn fire. We can talk about supply chain issues, but it could be something as simple as a train derailment, which is not simple, but poisoning your water. It could be the residents in Jackson, Mississippi, who have been told to be prepared to boil their water for 10 years.
Wow.
Right? And that's the result of a flood that inundated their treatment system. So, this thing could happen. And I tell people, I ask people all the time, if somebody knocks on the door and you go to the door, it's the sheriff, and says, you've got 5 minutes to get out. There's been a train derailment. What do you take, right? So, certainly we need to depend on infrastructure when infrastructure is available.
Sure.
If the grocery store is there, it's open, it's got the products that you want, then buy the products that you want. But by preparing ahead of time, you can lessen the impact when those supply chain issues occur. Last summer, I don't know if anybody remembers, but the price of gas was ridiculous last summer.
Yeah.
Well, because, we had laid away, a few gallons of gas, and we put those down in the barn, we were able to supplement what we had to buy so that the price impact wasn't as great as if we had to go buy it all at the pump. It's simple little things like that. So whether you do it with food or water or gas or maybe it's necessary medication. Some people have life-sustaining medications. Well, what do you do if you can't get those?
Yeah.
Now is the time. And it's like an insurance policy, and that's why we have to preach the sermon all the time. Now is the time to prepare.
Amen to that. Whenever you have the opportunity to do so.
If you have the thought, maybe I ought to buy extra, then you should already be buying.
Sure.
Because other people are buying it, and it's not going to be there or be available for you.
Well, especially toilet paper when COVID-19 hits. I mean, that was apparently the most important thing that people could get. We got just about a minute left here, Tom, but I do have a question about preserving water. You said try and stock up when you can. What is the best way to preserve water? Is it just putting it in maybe old milk jugs and sitting it in areas? Is it trying to buy bottled water? Is it trying to buy some of the big, 300-gallon totes and sit them out in your backyard? What's the best way, do you think, to preserve water in about 45 seconds?
Sure. I would say buy it and store it in a manner in which you use it. So if you can buy these 1-gallon jugs of drinking water and you'll drink it that way, then do that so that you can rotate that stock. Water itself doesn't have a shelf life, but the container it's in does. And so you need to be rotating your stock through like that. Buy it in a unit that you will actually consume it so that you can rotate that stock.
Very interesting. Great stuff. I love it. Great information. And again, it's whether you're preparing for just the power to go out or, like you said, having to boil water from a train derailment, which apparently, according to Pete Buttigieg, is a insanely common thing to happen all the time. So we just have to prepare for it at any time now, especially carrying all those crazy chemicals. It's AmericanContingency.com. Go and check out the website. Great ways to prepare yourself, inform, equip, and train, along with connecting with other like-minded individuals. Tom, it's always good to talk to you, my friend. Let's do it again soon.
You bet, Andy. Anytime.
Always a pleasure, brother. All right, there it is. Podcast up in a little bit. We're back at it again tomorrow for the middle of the week on a Wednesday. 2 guests tomorrow. Make sure to rock it out. Until then, be your own voice of reason. This is the Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. We'll see you on the radio. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government censorship and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own voice of reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media.